Star Trek brings back the best part of Starfleet and Klingon teamubus. Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5 perfectly illustrates one of the reasons why Klingon stories work so well on Star Trek. Klingons have been a part of Star Trek since 1967, when the Star Trek, the original series episode, Errand of Mercy, first aired. At this time, the Klingons were enemies of the United Federation of Planets, and Captain James T. Kirk William Shatner faced the Klingons numerous times. In Star Trek, The Next Generation's 21st century era, however, the Klingons had become allies with the Federation. The presence of Lieutenant Worf, Michael Dorn, among the crew of the USS Enterprise D gave Star Trek The Next Generation the chance to dive deeper into Klingon culture. In TNG Season 2, Episode 8, A Matter of Honor, for example, Commander William Riker, Jonathan Frakes, spends time on a Klingon ship as part of an officer exchange program. The next season, in TNG Season 3, Episode 17, Sins of the Father, the Enterprise D visits the Klingon homeworld of Konos to help Worf fight for his family's honor. These stories offer a glimpse into Klingon culture through the lens of Starfleet. In Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 4, A Farewell to Farms, Lieutenants Beckett Mariner, Tawny Newsome, and Brad Boimler, Jack Quaid, visit Konos to investigate a rift in spacetime. While there, Mariner reaches out to her old friend Ma John Curry and offers to help him regain his captaincy. Boimler geeks out over getting into a Klingon bar fight and makes excellent use of his knowledge of Klingon culture. Mariner, Boimler, Ma, and his brother Maller, Sam Witwer, then have to endure the rite of unending pain, which brings back the pain sticks from Star Trek The Next Generation. Star Trek Lower Decks expertly pokes fun at the Klingons' obsession with often violent rituals while also telling a solid Klingon story. Mariner and Boimler both fare well among the Klingons, finding ways to make obscure Klingon rituals work in their favor and finding loopholes when needed. A Farewell to Farms builds on the Klingon politics first established in TNG, while also offering a look at parts of Konos that have not been explored before. Ma and his brother make great foils for Boimler and Mariner, making every scene on Konos a lot of fun. Klingon society may differ greatly from Federation society, but Klingons and Starfleet officers usually make great pairings. When Star Trek The Next Generation's Commander Riker temporarily joined a Klingon crew in A Matter of Honor, he quickly picked up on the elements of Klingon culture he needed to emulate to fit in. It's always fun seeing a Starfleet officer like Riker embrace Klingon culture, eating their often gross food, and treating his fellow officers the way Klingons do. Starfleet officers and Klingons have enough in common that they can recognize the similarities between their cultures, but have enough differences to keep things interesting. Star Trek The Next Generation typically explored Klingon culture through Worf, but Captain Jean Picard, Patrick Stewart, sometimes got involved too. Picard stepped up for Worf when his honor was questioned, studying the complexities of Klingon politics and ritual. Even a Starfleet officer as straight-laced as Picard could embrace the Klingons' brutal culture when he needed to. Star Trek Lower Decks has always been great at telling quintessentially Star Trek stories in a hilarious and loving way, and A Farewell to Farms is another excellent example of that. In the vast expanse of the Star Trek universe, the interactions between Starfleet and the Klingon Empire have been some of the franchise's most iconic and complex relationships. From bitter rivals to uneasy allies, the dynamics between these two interstellar powers have evolved throughout the decades. When Starfleet and the Klingons join forces, it brings out the best of what Star Trek stands for: exploration, diplomacy, honor, and the intricate dance of balancing differences for a common goal. The return of this legendary alliance in recent Star Trek series and films not only taps into a rich vein of history, but also highlights the best part of these teamubus: the fusion of Starfleet's idealism and the Klingon warrior spirit. A history of conflict and cooperation, the Klingons were introduced in Star Trek, the original series, as antagonists, representing the more militaristic and imperialistic tendencies, in contrast to Starfleet's exploration and diplomacy-focused missions. For years, they stood as an opposing force, often embodying Cold War tensions. However, in later iterations of the series, particularly in Star Trek The Next Generation (TNG) and Star Trek Deep Space Nine (DS9), the relationship evolved. The Treaty of Khitomer, which ended the long-standing conflict, laid the foundation for an uneasy but significant alliance between Starfleet and the Klingons. This alliance was never smooth. Episodes often depicted the tension between Starfleet's code of ethics and the Klingons' honor-based warrior culture. Despite these differences, they found common ground, united against greater threats like the Romulans and the Dominion. It is in these moments of unity that the true strength of Starfleet and Klingon teams shines brightest. Ideals meet honor. One of the most compelling aspects of Starfleet and Klingon collaborations is how each faction represents different facets of humanity. Starfleet's core values emphasize exploration, peaceful resolution of conflicts, and scientific advancement. It's a vision of a utopian future where diversity is embraced and diplomacy is prioritized. The Klingons, on the other hand, are driven by a strict code of honor where personal and familial reputation is paramount, and battle is a means to demonstrate courage and strength. When these two forces come together, their differences often lead to tension, but it's in their ability to overcome these differences that the true power of their alliance is revealed. The best Starfleet and Klingon teams show that their values are not as incompatible as they might seem. Both groups are driven by loyalty, Starfleet to its mission and ideals, and the Klingons to their code of honor and empire. In many ways, Starfleet's idealism complements the Klingons' warrior ethos. Together, they form a formidable alliance that combines Starfleet's strategic intellect with Klingon bravery and tenacity. Memorable Starfleet Klingon teams. One of the most memorable examples of this alliance can be found in Star Trek: Deep Space Nine during the Dominion War. The Klingons were key allies in the fight against the Dominion, a war that tested the very limits of Starfleet's diplomatic ideals. The war forced Starfleet officers, particularly Captain Benjamin Sisko, to make morally challenging decisions, often conflicting with the organization's core principles. The Klingons, however, were always prepared for battle, and their straightforward approach to warfare was essential to the survival of the Alpha Quadrant. Characters like Worf, the Klingon officer who served in Starfleet, symbolize the best of both worlds. As a Starfleet officer, Worf adhered to Starfleet's rules and regulations, but his Klingon heritage always influenced his decision-making, especially when questions of honor were at stake. Worf's journey epitomized the delicate balance between Starfleet's ideals and the Klingon sense of duty. His presence in both TNG and DS9 highlighted the benefits of having both perspectives working side by side. In Star Trek: Discovery, the Klingon-Starfleet alliance resurfaces with fresh nuances. The backdrop of the Federation-Klingon War in the first season eventually gives way to an understanding that collaboration is necessary for the survival of both. Emperor Rayleigh's leadership of the Klingon Empire, with assistance from Starfleet officers, particularly Michael Burnham, echoes the long-standing theme of unity through shared struggle. The blending of Klingon military might and Starfleet's strategic diplomacy plays a pivotal role in stabilizing not just the Klingon Empire, but the entire quadrant. What the return of this dynamic means: the renewed focus on Starfleet and Klingon team use in modern Star Trek stories taps into the heart of what makes this alliance so fascinating. It's not just about fighting common enemies, it's about finding strength in diversity and learning from one another. The Klingons, with their rigid adherence to tradition and honor, remind Starfleet of the importance of conviction and courage. Conversely, Starfleet's emphasis on diplomacy and ethics often tempers